I have been playing Final Fantasy on my channel very slowly for the past year, and I made it all the way to level 40, but there's an event going on where you need to be level 50, and of course, I need to do this event to get the rewards, so I am going to get to level 50 as fast as possible, so we're doing this speedrun style, and hopefully it'll be fast enough that I can get there in time. I started off by doing what I thought was an archery bard quest, which turns out not to be that at all. I'm not sure why it seems like such an important quest, but my goal was to talk to this drunk man, and so off I went. This woman tells me to go around and figure out where he's been because he's drunk and he is just trying to do something for money, so I accept the quest because, hey, XP is XP. Also, I will not remember to use my chocobo enough in this playthrough at all. I end up just running around and wasting a lot of time. I don't remember exactly what this guy says, but I think he'll tell me where the other guy is if I stand on top of this mountain and defeat some of these water blobs. So off I go again to a different place to stand around and wait until water blobs come and I can attack them. This is the point where I realize this probably isn't related to archery or bard because they haven't been talking about it. Then I finally meet this drunk guy who tells me to go over and open this chest, and by defeating a bunch of things, I open the chest and it's got a bunch of random stuff in it. When I go back to the guy, he's disappointed at the stuff in the chest because it won't afford him any booze, but then he tells me that I should take up what he's been doing, which is finding buried treasure, and I'm not sure if I want to because all he found was random junk. He doesn't seem like a very good pirate to me. Then I go back for my reward and I do end up getting a bard skill. I really don't know how either of these things are relevant to what I'm doing. Then I spend some time selling things because my inventory is full. I've never had this happen to me before and I wasn't sure what was sellable and what wasn't, so most of my day was spent just trying to figure out what to do with my inventory. Then I get sent to this bar, which seems to be a mainstay for these next few main quests, and he tells me I'm doing a great job, gives me some XP, which is exactly what I wanted, and then he sends me out here to deal with these drunk people by splashing water on them. I did actually really enjoy this part of the quest, it was very cathartic, and it got me to level 41, which was perfect. Then I got sidetracked into this side quest I totally forgot about. I don't even know why I'm saving this novice person, or what they were doing out here all by themselves, but I did it anyways, and I got some XP from it, so all in all, it was a good choice. The barkeep sent me out here in the middle of nowhere to do a few quests for these people in order to get some wine, or beer, or ale, something like that. I wasn't really paying attention to the details at this point because I really wanted to get to level 50. I did do a bunch of side quests out here though. Then he sends me on another quest to go scouting outside the bar for a person or Imperial soldiers or something, and as I'm going out there, I finally notice Ida and Papalimo are outside the bar, which lets me know that these are not just random fetch quests, they're main story fetch quests. So I stand in a bunch of different destinations, and each time I am attacked by Imperial or Empire guards, and I have to kill them. The barkeep again asks me for help to find this regular who hasn't been showing up lately, and I accept. I find him, and it turns out that he's gone rogue and is working with the bad guys, who he sends after me after calling me very mean things. Thankfully, I have friends to help me, and we take them down easily. After we take him down, he says that he kind of regrets it and says to tell the barkeep thank you. I don't even know where he goes after this, but he just walks away and I let him. Very confusing. I tell the barkeep, and afterwards, Ida and Papalimo show up, and we can finally get started on what started this whole thing, which was trying to find the elder of the Sylph Fairy people. We get informed by one of the Sylphs that the elder is in this dungeon, and of course, it's dungeon crawl time. This dungeon is absolutely beautiful. I had such a fun time just running through it, although I will say I did not enjoy fighting all the weird slimes. But just look at it. I mean, I love the lighting effects, how we're underground but it's green. And of course, at the end, I show up and run into some evil man that I don't know. He tells me that he needs to kill me because of the things that make me special. He wants them gone so they can take over the world or something. And in order to do that, he doesn't fight me like I thought he was going to. Instead, he makes this giant spider that I have to kill, which we kill pretty easily. Afterwards, the cocoon falls to the ground and out pops the elder, who is so adorable. They show me what happened and how these evil people were secretly going to sort of take over, but they didn't want anyone to know. That's why it was a secret. And I didn't actually really care, but I am curious to see who is in those masks. And me and the elder have a race to see who can get out of the dungeon the fastest. I lose. Then I tell them all what has happened. They give me some coins, which is pretty much all I can take at this point, and I accept some more quests as I level up again. Then the Elder Seedseer tells us about their Lord Ramu, because this whole thing started we were worried they were going to summon him, but they say no, they would never do that. Ramu is a totally chill, normal guy. Then they hand me this purple crystal, and of course I do the thing I do with crystals, I think absorb it into my body, and it turns out I have 3 of the 6 that it looks like I need to potentially move forward. And then I run into this cute little castle. I don't know what goes on here, I think weddings or something, but it was adorable. Then I go back to the Scions and run into this little boy again. He was also doing work. I don't know why he's here or why he's working with the Scions, but it's interesting to see him around everywhere I go. Then we run into another Sylph, and it turns out they actually want to work with the Scions, so it seems like we're really getting people on board with our little band of adventurers. Then, because there's nothing really else to do, I'm told that I need to investigate La Habrea, I think is how you pronounce the name, and of course, I accept. I meet this merchant who tells me he doesn't really know anything, but if I speak to the merchants around him, then maybe I'll figure something out. It's another fetch quest. Can you tell I'm getting a little bit tired of having to run around everywhere? Then I come back, he tells me, yeah, we don't really know anything, but you can go to this cave where my daughter is and talk to her. I talk to her, she says to talk to this old man, and when I get there, the only thing I really can say about this guy is that he's not helpful. That's literally the only note I wrote. I don't remember anything else about him. He's just not helpful. I speak to this soldier who tells me if I get on the soldier side, they'll tell me some more information that I want to know. I do some side quests, and by the time I finish everything, I've leveled up once again. I'm now level 44. I'm just that much closer. I tell Minfilia everything that I learned, and she tells me that I need to do more research and speak to the Alamegans, who were cast out of their home and now are sort of refugees where we live. And it turns out there's one in our group. Also, no one's ever invited me to where apparently all the Scions hang out. I'm feeling very jealous. He tells me that he can't really tell me much because he kind of defected, so I need to go and find the actual refugees and speak to them. I speak to them, and it turns out this is his wife he left, which is totally crazy. Can't believe we're not talking about that more. She tells me she can't say anything. It's like breaking a bond or something because she's like a store owner or whatever. And so I have to go talk to the real ones who tell me they also won't tell me anything because they don't trust me. But then it turns out that one of their men is heavily injured, and thankfully I can do some things to help them out with this. More fetch quests. I am running back and forth to the bar, to the woods, to everywhere. And it is a little bit tiring, especially when I'm trying to get to level 50 so fast and I'm doing this all at once. It's a lot of back and forth, but I managed to do it. Then they tell me that their sick friend has actually run away. They don't know where he is. And so instead of being able to help him, now I have to go track him down. When I find him, he's about to die in this cave. He says he wants to die because he doesn't want to be a burden to the Alamigos anymore. But of course, everyone in the Alamigos says they're together forever and that they can heal him. Then they send me back to the old man who I said was not helpful before, and apparently he's the leader of the Alamigos. Maybe I should have been paying attention more. He tells me to get on the good side of the young leader. He sort of has a band getting together, and that maybe if I talk to them, they can help me. I finally managed to talk to the leader. He leads me out to this secluded area by myself, and of course, they actually want to kill me. I tell the old man what they've been up to, and he says that we should go check on them because obviously they're up to something and it's probably not going to turn out well for them because they're not thinking this through. When we do manage to find them, they're badly injured because they've been messing with the Amalja because they want to summon a primal, and obviously we know summoning a primal is a very bad idea. And they've angered the Amalja, so now we have to go through all this trouble to fight off the Amalja. It is very hard, and I actually had to redo this fight. Then I report back to the Scions about everything that occurred, and especially about how this masked man seems to be behind everything. He was at that dungeon, and now he seems to be plotting to do lots of different things like summoning primals and bothering me. But instead I take a detour to do some more bardic quests where I learn a lot about the man who is teaching me to be a bard. He's been very kind to me, but I've learned that he doesn't like to shoot his bow because of trauma. This was honestly a very scary scene to watch. It was actually like almost horror-esque, and it actually a little bit scared me. But we kind of deal with his trauma at least a little bit, and he sort of opens up to me that the war just changed him and he just won't do that anymore. That's why he chose to be a bard. I do some more main quests, which are just fetch quests, it seems like. I never really figured out what they were. At this point, I was skipping through dialogue a lot faster than I had been. But I do learn that there are some young women who keep being found dead. And I find this man who tells me that it was probably his former master. She was obsessed with being beautiful forever. And so she's probably the one who was consorting with magic and evil things in order to stay young forever. So of course, this means a dungeon. This dungeon was way different from any other dungeon I had done before. It was inside a mansion, which I thought was a really cool location, and the way you run through the dungeon was different because you had to go through different rooms to find keys. It was a little bit harder for me because I just ended up running around confused, but I did manage to make it to the boss. She has such a cool design. It's a shame that she's just one boss and she's not super connected to the story as a whole, but I love how she looks. She was really fun to fight, and her whole dungeon was really cool. But of course, not everything is as it seems, and there were two people who seemed to be with the masked man who said that they were just here to watch me because they wanted to see how good I was and wanted to know kind of what they were up against. So I go back to the Scions and I tell them all that, and look, the whole squad has rolled up, and we find out that they're trying to summon another primal elsewhere. And of course, I am selected to go help with that along with our cat girlfriend, Ishtola. It's very fun to be with someone else, but I do end up doing more fetch quests for this strangely dressed man. He asked me to do a bunch of things for him around the farm, and then of course he gets found out because he's not doing any of his work. And of course, to prove that he's doing his work, we have a rock shooting contest, and even though he tries to slip me up, I win. I finally meet up with Y'shtola to actually get started on her quest, and we talk to these adventurers to try and figure out what's going on and where the primal is, but they say they won't help us until we prove we're adventurers. And of course, Y'shtola doesn't do this, it's all up to me. So I meet this other man who I also have to prove I'm an adventurer to, and so I do a bunch of more side quests. I prove that I'm an adventurer to this random man, doing a bunch of more side quests, and yeah, it's a lot of side questing, until of course, I get to do another dungeon. This one was all about getting cheese. Apparently I've been collecting food for a big celebration, but this one was also a really cool dungeon. It was more dinosaur-ish. It really felt like I was in sort of a Jurassic Park world, but of course it ended with me having to kill a dragon. Why was this dragon here in Dinosaur World? I don't know, but we did have to kill him after he killed a frog in front of me. So then I talked to the person who sent me on this quest, and finally I received cheese, which I didn't realize was going to be so vital to my main quest. I do some more quests to prove my loyalty and to prove I'm an adventurer, which involves getting wine and speaking to other people, and honestly, I wasn't really paying attention at this point. I was kind of getting burnt out of doing so many quests so quickly, and I just wasn't having as much fun as I was in the very beginning. Then I end up back on the beach, which is one of my favorite places in Final Fantasy. I tell Y'shtola about everything I've done, and actually all of the other adventurers end up showing up, and we sort of become friends. I seem to have proven myself as an adventurer. Although I had a lot of fun doing this, and this part was really fun and special, it really felt like I was having an effect on the world when all of these people showed up to sort of have a party and feast with me, but I realized that I was just so tired of playing. I would play for 3 hours every single day, and I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere fast enough, and I found out that you needed more than to be level 50. You needed to do way more quests than that, and I hadn't even done barely any of the quests leading up to the quests required to do the event. And you had to have a bunch of currency from the Golden Saucer, and I only ever played the Golden Saucer in meetups, and I just felt like I was so behind. And watching this cutscene made me realize I barely even know these people. I've been skipping through dialogue so fast that I can't really appreciate what I've done because I was so busy getting to level 50. Now it's fine to play this way, there's nothing wrong with speeding through if you want to get to a certain point, but I've always played slowly. It's taken me forever to get where I am now, but I've enjoyed every single part of it, and I like this game when I play it the way I normally do. And as much fun as this was to do, I realized that getting the event rewards just wasn't worth it for me because I was sacrificing all the fun I had in the game, so I don't think I'll be finishing this. In fact, right after I saw this cutscene, I realized I really didn't want to do this anymore. So even though I didn't get everything that I wanted, I got really far in the game, and it showed me the way I enjoy playing this game. It was a learning experience, and I did enjoy it, even if I ended up being very, very tired of it by the end. So if you want to speedrun it, go ahead. But as for me, I'll stick to the way I play. Bye!